Today's Treff will be about fly presses. It's one of my favorite tools in the workshop, and at least one of the ones I'm the most happy I got one along the way. The one you can see there is the one which is at the moment most active in my workshop. So, fly press, first couple of general things about fly presses, and then afterwards I will a bit share some of the tooling which I use. Generally, fly presses come in two kind of models. One is an H frame, as you can see on the left, and the other is a C frame, as you can see on the right. The basic difference being that the H frame has like two pillars amongst which the ram goes up and down, and the C frame has it such that the frame is in it's a C frame on which the ram goes up and down. And the advantage of the C frame is that it offers you more degrees of freedom, while the H frame model offers you more stability potentially. There are a couple of other things you need to look out for when you buy a fly press. Well, when you start getting interested in one, and these are the diameter of the thread, because this is what determines the potential tonnage, power, pressure you can apply. And obviously, the thicker the threaded rod is, the more power you can potentially apply. And the other thing you want to look out, you can actually see these both, which are now in the picture, are very different. The pitch of the thread determines the speed and also affects the power. So if you have like a steeper pitch, as you can see on the C-frame model in the right, it moves quicker. But if the pitch is less steep, you can apply more power in general compared to a similar size of threaded rod with a steeper pitch. Other than that, you can see that it is like the force is generated not only by the threaded rod, but also by the flywheel, as you see in the right picture, or some weights which are on the outside. As you can see, they are yellow and black on the model here on the left. From personal experience, I recommend putting a fly press on some kind of stand or table which allows you to put the associated tooling beside it. And as you can see, I think you can even see my cursor. I have there also like that the wrenches and ratchet I usually use for tightening things is also available right there. So this makes it a bit more convenient to have everything in a similar spot, and it's a bit organized also, as you can see there. As next, I would like to talk about a couple of the toolings I have. First of all, what can you do with a fly press? And I will now show a couple of things I use my fly press for, and how I approach making tooling. So, for example, if you want like an offset bend, like a Z form, you can usually improvise this from a couple of pieces of scrap metal you have laying around, which just seem to fit the dimensions you're looking for. Just put one on one side, one on the other side, leave the gap as big as you want to leave it, and put one piece which is sturdy enough on top and one piece which is sturdy enough on below. And you end up with the Z form you were looking for, or the offset you were looking for. If you need the offset more often, for example, if you make like it's a certain style of hinges you're doing and you need this particular offset again and again and again, then it might make sense to make tooling which has exactly the blocks you need for the offset in the spaces where you need them. This way you get more reproducible results. You might also think sometimes, well, you will see also in the future tool, to incorporate if there is a hole anyway for a reason, like if it would be in a railing or something, or it's like a stick where it's a hole for a rivet anyway, one can fairly easy include pins to get the, or kind of as a blocker to get the bend always in the same spot. Another thing which I do fairly often, this particular kind of U offset, which in Mark Asbury's books is called a joggle. And actually, this particular tool is quite straight copied from that book, adjusted to the measurements I needed for, this is actually for a railing project. On the right side, one can see the sample piece, or like the section of the railing which has been bent by a tool like this one. And it's pretty easy. It just with the screw holes, or with these holes here, gets fixed in the bottom. This here attaches to the ram, and then it moves along these two pins up and down. It's easier that way to like adjust both upper and lower piece to each other. And also for the flat bar which goes in and gets bent, one has a rest to move it against, so it's more even. If here are these two pins, you cannot move across, and you always get like a straight bend. Going to the next tool. This is another tool I use very, very often, has been created with, well, has been created by, and I mainly just gave inspiration to it, by my good friend Otto Hamann. It's used for bending, and there are, well, you could hypothetically also just have like two big enough pieces of solid bar in a certain distance, and then have the ram come down to make your adjustments. But this tool offers significantly more flexibility, and also with the hexagonal rolls, makes it easier if one has flat bar to guide it, that it goes more even. This is one of the tools I use most with this fly press. I just used it today to bend the rail on like the handrail on a railing. And I have never come across so far another tool which makes so easy to do precision bends. As said, you could have something a bit more easy to fabricate. For example, if you would have like a couple of pieces of angle iron with the angle up, and then have there like a roll of some thicker material in, then you would also have the possibility to change the distances. But something like this, and I also use this for bending jigs. For like if I have like a curvy jig or something, and I want to do it cold, this is a fantastic tool for this as well. Or if there is a bar which is somehow crooked, with this tool one can very, very well, I find, better and easier than on the anvil, straighten it out. Another thing, I do fairly often fire sets. And the first time I did a fire set, I spent, I don't know how much time I spent, but very, very long time on making the shovel part. Even if you have like a swage which you can kind of hammer it in, it feels at least like it would take forever. And it, well, when I did the second one, I had the feeling, no, I now have to come up with something better. And I had that time had this fly press already. And it's very easy to make this tool. And it's basically like just two pieces of flat bar in fitting height, and then putting them close to each other, and it moves at least 2 mm sheet metal, mainly cold. No problem, and it makes like this process, which was before probably half an hour or something, 5 minutes, and it's ready. And then afterwards, just cut it off. So I think I save about minimum half the time every time I do a fire shovel now, and this makes me very, very happy. Yeah. Another tool which I used to use fairly often is this one here for making U-nails. I have like that these kind of oven hooks. No, door hooks. Sorry, ovihakka. It's in Finnish like these door hooks, which is like the door hook with an eye and a hook, and it's attached with two staples. And this made making the staples a lot quicker and more even than any other process I have figured out so far. One thing one has to keep in mind if one does a tool like this or any kind of bending tool is that the stamp one uses has to leave enough clearance or leave enough room for the material and some slight extra so that the material that the piece can go out again and it's not everything getting stuck. Talking from experience. This is another thing I do fairly often. There is a certain style of candle holder which has the candle cup, as you can see here on the right, and has a stick at the bottom, and they go into a bottle. And recently I had the commission of these for 50. And before I used to do them by hand, but like hammer it and everything. But then I was like, no, if I have to do 50, I need to speed up the process. Before I was doing like 5 to 10 at a time. And then the part which holds the candle, so this upper part, this one is still one of the old, but basically is it's like a big ball shaped stamp which goes comes from top, goes down like to a certain degree and like at a certain depth, and they look afterwards all the time the same. The wax cup or whatever this is called, what catches the wax, is basically like a round piece of sheet metal with a hole in the middle which fits this pin here, and this space, like this hole in the middle, is later needed to weld it to the stem, which go like this stick, which goes into the bottle. So I just throw the round sheet metal piece over here, and this stamp here comes on top, and it leaves me with this kind of wax catch, drip catch, and they come out all even. In this stamp here, or this upper tool is similar diameter as the pipe which goes there. So when I brace them together, it nicely fits already in the spot, and it makes the whole process also again significantly quicker. Another thing I found very, very suitable is forging hollow forms. This is very, very simple hollow form forging, but since it is easier controllable time-wise than under a power hammer, I found this kind of like nicking pipes and like around and being able to turn it and do it very, very gradually and gently. I found the Flypress wonderful for that. Yeah. Couple of other ideas if you have a Flypress. It is also very good in chiseling lines, like either pre-chiseling for hot cutting or for decorative twists or what have you. And if you have the idea to make something like this, I recommend it took maybe like 20, 30 minutes to make this kind of adjustable guideline along which you can then just drag the piece, and it's making the lines significantly more straight. At least if you have like a straight piece like is here. Yeah. And this is basically such that it's screwed in here in the front and then tightened with the nut. And at in this part, this angle iron piece moves. And this here is this hole is big enough to just let it pass, and you can adjust with these two nuts how far it is going. And the other thing, if you want to like usually if you make bigger style leaves, I at least have found it much easier to cut them from whichever kind of sheet metal fits the desired thickness, and instead of forging them out of full material. And then I made at some point this under tool or this lower tool so that one has different openings and for filling in for grooving in the center of the leaves or the sides of the leaves, like crimping the sides. Another option is to have like a lead block on which, or a rubber block on which you work with an upper stamp. And yeah, this also gives very, very organic and nice results. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was interesting to you, and I would now be open for questions.
Yeah, okay, Patrick, thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I'm going to the first question. Mariano asked, how many tons do you recommend for this tool?
Well, it depends, as always, it depends on what you want to do. This H-frame model has about 10, or is rated for 10. And the other has also about 10. And I think that's a very handy size. But if you want to punch hammer eyes or move bigger stock or anything, it might be a bit too small. But for these applications, which I usually do, it's fantastic.
My own question was, how do you test for correct sizing? That means when you have to make hundreds of the same products, there will be some diversion from the sizes. So I'm interested in how do you get your constant sizing?
Yeah. Okay. So when I do tools, I think what I want the end dimensions to be, and then I weld or screw something together according to that. For example, when I did this joggle tool, which you see there, this is the fifth iteration of the tool, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. Because I can openly say I miscalculated the depths I was looking for. And I had only after the first the distances were off, so it was too close to the bar around it which it should joggle, and then then the depth was off. So well, I did usually do the best thinking I can do, and then I try something out.
Okay.
And then reality tells me either it's good, which is often the case, but not always, or I have to do another one.
Okay, clear. Okay, thank you. That's okay. Then Mariano came with an idea. I will read it. I think the bending tool is very cool and a nice idea because also the hexagonal bars can rotate. I think also that you can make the center in angle, and that is going to help to bend flat iron into coil shape. What do you think about this idea?
Yes. So I had this idea exactly that one could use this tool also for bending helixes or coils or however you want to call them. And it has like there is the option to, with the attachment, turn it around 45 degrees. Because I was exactly thinking that with this kind of thing, one could then do spirals and whatever one wants to do. I have not tested this yet. And I think what is a bit problematic is the second pillar. Because then you have pillar on the left and pillar on the right. And it's kind of where this spiral would then go. And at least with certain measurements of the spiral or coil, it would be on the way. But hypothetically, it's possible. What is definitely possible is to do not straight bends. I've done this a couple of times accidentally. So it's very, very possible.
Okay, good. I had a question. Do you use a lot of hot material, or do you heat some material to a certain hot temperature, or do you most use cold form for small parts?
So this depends as often. I do a lot of cold work with it. I would say probably 70 to 80% of the time I work cold.
Okay.
But for example, like when the material gets a bit thicker, like all the sheet metal work you have seen, up to I would say, no, depending on what it is, 3-4 millimeter sheet metal, at least in the smaller sections, is like the smaller areas, no problem. If one wants to press bolts, they also like I've been pressing ring dishes with about 12 centimeter diameter without any problem cold. That deep, about a centimeter deep, 1-2 centimeters deep, no problem. If it would be thicker, like 4 or 5 millimeter material, then definitely I guess one has to heat it. Today when I was bending this railing, it's from 25 millimeter round stock. This I have heated for the initial bend, and then like the initial bend, and then corrected cold so that it fits the angle correctly.
Okay.
Joggles, I also have been, at least in the thicker material, doing cold, doing hot.
Mhm.
It depends on the job, but I would say it's like about 70% of the time I use it cold and the rest hot.
Yeah. It's also depending on your products you make.
Yeah, totally.
Well, clear. Then we have the last question from Mariano. How important are the radius in the tools you use in the molds? Do you need to make them very round or can be a little sharp?
Um, so I guess this refers to something like bolts or these joggles or set-offs and so on. One can do quite sharp offsets or bends. It is possible, but you definitely need some kind of clearance. Otherwise, the tool and the material will either get stuck or, yeah, form a unity which is like they unite, and it's very, very difficult to get this like get them apart again. Like for these ends, which then do the bends, like for example in the joggle, you might have seen I have rounded them off quite a lot, because otherwise it marks the material. And this might, of course, be what you are looking for, but I was not. I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, that was my question, because sometimes when you need to like bend with the tool like that, I'm not sure with this tool how much radius you need in the outside mold. So when the other tool press in the center, because for example the hexagonal bar is a little sharp, but also because can rotate, maybe it doesn't affect a lot. But if you have a mold, let's say, for example, with the candles, I can see you use a round bar to make the ring and not the square bar, for example.
Yeah, no, this was just because it was easier. And since it's like, well, I had this round bar around, so it didn't even came to my mind. But obviously, it's also that the side of the wax holder is wax catcher is like at an angle, and a round shape offers this initial angle easier. And with the hex bars, they rotate. Exactly. Like it totally depends. This one tool which I showed on other ideas for these leaves impressions. These I have also sometimes used for bending, and they are also round, and then I use like a chisel ground stamp, and this also works very good. But of course the chisel ground stamp, it makes this mark. So this might be something you are not looking for. At least I usually don't. And then one needs to have the tools around, round enough. Yeah.
Okay, when that is enough clear for you, Mariano, then we have a nice bridge to the last question of Eddie from the Island Forge. Can you explain the candle holder jig again? Thanks.
It's relatively easy. It consists of three. No, basically, it's consisting of three tools. Or well, let's say four. One is just a plate, just a straight plate, on which the piece of pipe which holds later the candle sits. And then I have for a stamp, which is rounded like a ball peen hammer. In my case, it's just some ground piece of spring steel. Yeah. And then I put the pipe under, and the spring, like the ball, pushes the edge of the pipe to the sides. And this makes like a nice little opening for the candle to slide in. So, and the other tool consists of an upper tool and a lower tool, and the upper tool, like which attaches to the ram or stamp, is a similar piece of pipe, a diameter at least. Could also be full material, but in my case it's just pipe. S is the part which holds the candle later, like with this pipe we have just been pressing with the first other tools. And the lower tool is it's a plate. In the middle is a pin which has, in my case, it's a 10mm hole. This is enough for me for the weld. Yeah. And then there is a ring around it in the diameter which I need for my wax dripping cups, for this dripping catch.
Yeah.
So, and then I have also there, you might have seen, like with a, what is it? Circle. Divider made like or compass made like a circle, so that I can adjust the upper and the lower tool easier to each other, and then screw them into place. And then the piece of sheet metal, which is what was it? It's like 45mm, I guess, I have written it down. I'm not fully sure about heart. I don't know it by heart, but I think it's like 45 millimeter. And in the center, this, or probably it's rather 50. And then in the center is this 10 millimeter hole. This round piece of sheet metal goes onto the pin. And then the stamp comes down and pushes it such that there is then afterwards the sides are up for the catch, and there is exactly in the middle the room for the candle holder part. And then I can, when I usually brace them together, I can just put the brazing material in the outer side, or like clean it before a bit with a brush, and then throw them in the gas forge, and they don't slide off. They just go right in the same place, and it's very easy to attach that way.
If there are no further questions, I would suggest that I can stop the recording. Thank you for being our guest, and see you the next time.
Yes.